Google postpones return to work until October. Facebook follows suit as well, and they will require vaccinations, or there's going to be a lot of manual testing that employees will have to do. Check in and tune in to our latest market updates. Every 12 o'clock Friday Pacific time, I go over the latest market updates related to what is happening with the Bay Area real estate, any of the activities that have been going on my end personally that I want to share with my audience, along with general market trends and data so that you can see for yourself, where are things going? Are things going higher, lower? How is inventory? You get a pretty good sense when you tune into this report every week, where we actually look at the data. But for this week, some big news. We all know that the Delta variant is spreading. Now, seems like it's much more of an issue for those that are not vaccinated. So we are seeing this across the board. You're seeing examples where the federal governments, state agencies, now a lot of companies are requiring vaccines for people to return to the office. If they don't, there will need to be administering tests like the COVID test to be able to work to the office for, if they don't want to have it for whatever reason, unless it's for like religious or other health reasons at the moment. I don't know why people would not be okay with it. I think there's like over 1 billion people that have vaccines now all across the world. So it doesn't make it too much sense for people that do not have it. But certainly a lot of people have the shots. And so this is happening. Now, even for those that have the vaccines, it looks like the Delta variant may impact people. So people will get sick and will still transmit. However, it seems like at the same time, the effects are not nearly as bad if you weren't vaccinated. So what is the big tech companies doing? They're delaying the return to work from, usually it is actually about the September timeframe, but now they moved it to October. At the same time, a majority of the move was going to be happening in October either way for a lot of these companies. So they do require people to be vaccinated. They do want to certainly continue to reopen. There is no change from that perspective, but they have moved it back and they will require vaccines. Facebook follows suit. Facebook requiring U.S. employees to be vaccinated to return to work. Different areas outside the U.S. will react accordingly, depending on the local policies. Apple as well will be delaying it too. And other tech companies are doing something similar. Some may push it out a little bit further out. I think Lyft, as an example, has decided to push it out a little bit further, like at least a few months. But the big tech companies have pushed it back basically by about a month. Apple is the same thing. Apple actually reported this last week that they'll be returning back to the office a little bit later. But you may also notice yourself as you drive by, there is a lot of people that have been back to the office. So it really does depend on the company and their policies. But a lot has already returned. I've seen a lot of parking lots already filled. So I think that's just for the general remaining amount. But there's a lot of key services, or people have already had the option to be back in the office and they are back now and they want to be back. So something interesting to see from the company's move perspective. It seems like, what is the benefit though of this, at least for a home buyer or investor? You may notice that interest rates have actually dropped again. So we saw this story play out last time, right? What happened in COVID the last time around when things were really bad and really unknown? Well, interest rates have dropped tremendously because the government kept printing money, but also the confidence level was lower. So that was certainly a big factor. And what does that mean for people in the Bay Area? You can see this. Note, have Bay Area homes become more affordable? Affordability is a relative word for many people, of course, but it also is dependent on income. We don't talk about this a lot, but people in general, especially those that work in tech, have done better than ever. I mean, look at all the IPOs that happened not long ago, where there's Snowflake IPO, Robinhood IPO, and there's all sorts of companies that you may not even know of that have IPO'd in the last year. And if you look at all the big tech companies, look at the recent reports that Facebook, Google has had record earnings, record growth. YouTube, I think, grew faster and it's like bigger than like Netflix. It's like absolutely incredible. And they're a huge company already. So a lot of companies have done better than ever. And what does that mean? Employees have done better than ever. They've saved more money. They make more money. And so while the housing prices have increased, it also depends on, what type of properties have increased. The levels between condos, townhomes, and single family are all in different levels of growth. And so that's something to be mindful of. But you can see the year over year wage increase has been 10%, 20% in San Mateo County, right? Which is where, a lot of very, very big, especially biotech companies are based out of. So you can see this, the growth of income has been very, very stellar. And so hence why you see prices continue to do very well in general all across the Bay Area. So that's what I've always told people, when people ask like, Bay Area is so expensive and things like that. Well, if you have the ability to earn the income or the opportunity to earn this kind of income, it actually makes it, especially with houses, how they have increased over the last 4 decades, about 6 to 7%. It's been very, very favorable, not just from an investment perspective, but also for a growth, career, and income perspective. And so when people look at the whole picture and they see that, then it's been very affordable for a lot of people if you wrapped your head around it and understood like it is what it is. Fortunately for a lot of my clients and a lot of people in general, there may be a stigma of what prices are, but relative to income, it's a lot lower than places outside of the Bay Area. So something to be mindful of as people complain about prices here. It's all relative to the income in that particular area. Now, at the same time, one of the things that has happened is Bay Area cities are the only major metros where rents are still heavily discounted. So a lot of places. So this also goes back to that aspect of saving more money. Like some people have actually earned more money than ever before because they work in tech. They pay less in rent because some people have decided to leave. So there's more savings than before. And never mind, if you actually left outside of the area, your rent is even lower. So still interesting to see. They are rising again. And it all depends on what kind of property it is, right? Like as I mentioned, single family is a different story than townhomes, than small condos and small apartments. So something to be mindful of. Google plans to extend its campus, which may become unsafe as sea levels rise. Oh my, there's a transcript to hear about the city planners, but also the development of these big tech companies. Moffett Park, which is home to a lot of commercial space. So places like Google, Cloud, Amazon, Microsoft, Rambus used to be there, but Comcast is there. And they keep wanting to build there because there's no residential space. There is still a decent amount of land, but it's a very, very high dense area of development. And there's also a developer that is very, very bullish and wants to keep developing for these big tech companies there. So they continue to build there, but at the same time, that area itself is a little bit tricky. If you actually look at it from a map perspective, it is very close to the bay. So a little bit more prone to flooding and things like that. But then again, as you can see, Google had quietly bought more than 70 properties out there worth almost $3 billion in that one area. So they are heavily invested in that specific spot of Moffett Park in Sunnyvale. But then there is the issues of possible flooding. So I suspect that as sea levels rise, that we will hear and see that there may be opportunities where Google will put in more money and help with some of those issues that may be in the future. But make no mistake, they will continue to build out there and continue to expand out there. And so will other tech companies. They will continue to do that because it's one of the very few areas that is very dense of where a lot of talent is, and there's still room to grow. So with that in mind, Sunnyvale will do very, very well, especially in the next couple of years. So this has been an interesting story, which is, a wild 15 months, right? Pandemic spurs conversions of offices to labs. This has been happening across the board, all around the peninsula. So if you think about San Mateo County has done very well because it's the prime location. Even though the office space has not been as desirable, the biotech scene has boomed and will continue to boom. I'm very, very bullish, especially my previous background of my undergrad was actually in biotechnology. It's about time that we're going to see a lot of innovation and a lot of things happening. especially as CRISPR takes form, especially as a lot more developments happening. So the life science industry just does not have enough space at all. Like anything that is life science related will get gobbled up instantly. And so a lot of the builders, a lot of the building owners will do everything they can. Of course, it's not easy, but they'll do what they can to create lab space, to create the necessary things for these companies to continue to expand there. So the faster they do that, the faster those offices get filled up. And if you think about it, this is not as much of a remote working kind of environment, right? I mean, if you're working in a lab, you can't just do this from home. You can do that a few days a week, but you definitely need to come into the office. And so we are seeing a lot of that activity. Just drive around the peninsula, look at South San Francisco, look at Oyster Point, look at, I think it was the Alexandra Life Science Building. I think that's in next to 101. Just see all of that. That's all almost fully occupied, and it's been moved in already. So really incredible to see. Very, very bullish still in San Mateo County. There's going to be a ton of traffic and a ton of jobs that continue to be there. The last news I want to bring up is California housing. Future San Jose BART station sparks plans for new homes. So what happens when it comes to new BART? I mean, take a look, right? This is very clear. Look at Warm Springs BART station. Look at Milpitas BART station. Look at Berryessa BART station. What is all around it? All around it is a bunch of apartments, a bunch of condos, and some townhomes, but mostly condos. And why is that the case? Is because the density has been rezoned for that to one, make it more of a reason for the BART station to extend, but also almost requirements to do so. So what does that mean? A lot of developers will have the opportunity to develop there if it makes sense for them to do so. And so we have a lot of activities, because that future San Jose BART station, I mean, God knows how long that's going to be. I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 years. I mean, it's going to be a while, but it's already having news, at this moment. One of the main developers here, which is actually Jerry Stranges. Jerry Stranges, I've actually met with this individual. I mean, incredible, very long-term thinking individual. Does great projects. For those that don't know who he is working with the family who did a long-term project, the development of Communications Hills, which, as you all know, was a massive development. It is a success story for everybody, right? I mean, there's like going to be, 3,000-4,000 homes on that hill in San Jose. So absolutely incredible of him and the family of a long-term thinking, right? I mean, because that's a 30-year development cycle of Communications Hill. Now, this is going to be way smaller, maybe like a decade development cycle, but really, really cool to see a lot of these activities. But do not be surprised. Any future BART stations will have a lot more density, and it'll be mostly, condos, apartments that'll be springing up. So be mindful of that. There's one more future BART station in Fremont too. I think it's in between like Warm Springs and the Fremont BART station. There's one in between. So there will be another one out there. That's probably another 5 years or something like that. Now, some personal news. I'm always very excited because it's these are always great honors. You can kind of see from my feedback, it means a whole lot for everybody that tunes in, even occasionally from time to time, or tune in repeatedly. It's because of you guys and your support that I'm able to help so many people and just get started. We are just getting started. There's a lot of people for us to help, and we do this show to be able to give people a competitive edge. And hopefully you'll find the opportunity to want to work with me, either on buying or selling a house, and we will ultimately stay in touch that way. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you have not subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube or on the podcast, as it greatly means a lot. But AREAA, which is the Asian Real Estate Association, this is a group. Actually, I'll share a background. In 2019, 2018 was my very first real estate convention as like a realtor convention. So back in 2018, I got to go there. I wasn't actually a realtor yet at that time. I was doing like house flips. I was in the business of that side of the business at that scale. But I went to the event, and one of the first things I saw, because they had a huge banner, was this AREAA A List. And what they would do is they would get the top producers across the country that are in AREAA to be on this list, because it's obviously a very, very prestigious and notable thing to recognize top producers. And so when that happened, one of my goals is I got to get on this list ASAP. And within 2 years, which was for everybody that doesn't know, is an incredible quick amount of time. You can see this was all data from last year, or actually from 2020, basically, of close in 2020. So you can see I did 32 transactions per side, so 22 sides, for a total, as you can see, I'm 19th on the list, 40 million on last year. Now, for those that don't know, this year to date, we're already at over 50 something million. So we've already surpassed last year. So our goal this year is, by the same time next year, is hopefully we have a good shot of being in the top 10. And it's not without your support and your help, and obviously me working like a crazy person, working 7 days a week and basically as long as I'm awake to be able to achieve these goals. But our goal, hopefully next year, is to be in this top 10. So then we get my picture on here. It'll be super exciting. It'll be super cool. But obviously these are some incredible producers, people that I follow. And that is our goal for next year. But for this year, pretty cool to see, right? 40 million was last year's volume production as a solo agent. No, it's all because of you guys and the support and all of the clients I've helped, and all the friends now I've made because of this business and industry. Very, very thankful for you guys. And we're going to have a lot of parties coming up. So get ready. We are starting that before things get too crazy again. So a couple of news about what has happened this week. New listing came up, 986 Netto Place in Sunnyvale, 3-bed, 3-bath, single family home, as you can see here. We just hit the market on Wednesday. We're going to have an open house this Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 4. So if anyone that is looking to move to the area, or they're considering to sell, of course, reach out to me. I'd love to help. But this is listed at 1.99 million. It's going to go fast. We'll likely have an offer deadline mid next week. So anyone that's looking for a great house in Sunnyvale, be sure to check it out, and hopefully just see you there. We'll be open. No need for appointment. But if you know of anybody that wants to move to the area, drop me a note, send me their contact details. So I'll be sure to allocate the time to be able to chat with them when they arrive. So that's this week. And a few closings happened this week. So a few stories. 1030 Libelt Court in San Jose. This was a great story. We got this very quickly in the sense this was their first bid. They went to go see a few houses in one weekend, and first try, boom, got it. And this was kind of overlooked, really, really exciting. We got this appraised for like 960 and 969. It was much more than what we bought it for, which is always a surprise, and it's always a pleasant surprise. But it's a great townhome. They've been renting for some time. But what's really cool, what's really inspiring is, a lot of my clients, they may be in their 20s, maybe low 30s, and they're already in the aspect of homeownership, at least having that mentality. And that's a really powerful thing, because this is a compounding effect, just like any investments. The faster that you do it, of course, do it wisely. Don't go crazy about it. But the faster you do it, the more money you start making over time, the more likely that you have to trade this up for a bigger and better home in the future, because you're a combination of gaining equity through this, not paying rent, paying someone else's rent, and quite frankly, you're locking down incredible interest rates right now. Most people in the Bay Area have very, very secure jobs, quite frankly. And so all this news and all this commotion, there's different industries that impacts more than here, but really congrats to them, first-time buyers, and it's going to be a great house for them to stay at until the next one. So congratulations to them. This particular house, 999 Green Street, beautiful condo out in Russian Hill. Well, beautiful in the sense, this is a great value add that my client bought, and we'll do a full renovation for. It has amazing views already right now, but the previous owner has lived in it for some time, and they didn't put in the required work. They didn't need to, quite frankly. Obviously, it costs money and time to do. But for my client to say, look, we want to find an opportunity for value add, right? The condo market has continued to pick up, especially in San Francisco, but there are a lot of places that are still lower in value than where it could be. Especially this building at Green Street has the opportunity to be like way more, because there are many above it that are multi-million dollars, like over 2 easy, like 2.5 easy for a lot of the homes. So our focus was we weren't in a rush to find a place. We don't find a good location that's going to be very stable, and also the ability to throw in the money, renovate it however you want, see value add opportunities, and then increase the value. And then years later, they can enjoy it. They can sell it if they wanted to. But a really, really cool project because we were super data driven, right? I mean, we searched for maybe 2-3 months, looked at properties almost every week. I gave my feedback from an analytical perspective of like, hey, look, this is what I think of this home. And this particular home was interesting because they had it priced, if you want to take the history of it, they had it priced initially, it kind of was removed there. So this is not exactly accurate. So they actually had it initially listed at $2 million back in 2020. They eventually relisted it this year at 185. They dropped it really low because they were kind of doing a Hail Mary effort to try to get as much as possible. And then we got this for 171. There were still a few offers because of that low price afterwards. So that was a little bit the story of this, but I think this is going to be a great opportunity. I can't wait to see what it looks like afterwards. We're going to do some updates with the windows. That you're going to change flooring. So you're going to redo the entire kitchen. They're going to open this up. So it'll be an open kitchen, which is possible because it seemed like other units have done that. And so that will be really cool to see. So congratulations to them. Just closed yesterday. Drove up to San Francisco. Super cloudy and foggy out there. But it was very cool. Much cooler than what we have here in the South Bay. And last but not least, a client closed finally on this one. They were in contract, I think like early this year, maybe like 4 or 5 months ago. And for those that things have been delayed in terms of the construction, but also things have been sold out far in advance. But congratulations to another client that had moved into communications hills. If you haven't seen, feel free to look on my YouTube channel. I have other videos about communications hills, about opportunities there, about the lifestyle there. It's a really cool spot. And this is maybe my 3rd or 4th client that has moved there in the last year. Really, really desirable spot. Lots of things to do. And you have the staircase. So be sure to check that out. Lots of good exercising there. Perfect right now for those who want to get in shape. Okay, let's run through the data real quick because I got to get running to a appointment. San Mateo County, as you can see for the last week, the number of listings, still a good amount, 191. But look at the amount of contingent pending, 200 that last week. Incredible figures. Now, prices have dropped a little bit, but it has picked up, I think, from the same time when we looked at it last week. And we're already at the end of July. So these are pretty much finalized figures. Not as high as June, but still significantly higher than the previous months. Keep that in mind. But the idea is that if you look at things that have sold in June, it will likely be a little bit below those figures. So very, very easy to determine the value right now of homes for single family out in San Mateo County. Santa Clara County, somewhat similar effect. The drop is a little bit more than San Mateo County, but maybe this was seasonality. Who knows? It's still higher than it was May and April, but a little bit lower than June. So it provides a good opportunity for those that have been almost giving up. It is very predictable as to what things will go for. 500 new listings this week. It is lower than it was some previous weeks. Still a good amount that's going contingent and pending. Condos and townhomes, similar effect, a drop, but not as much as single family. I suspect these figures will probably be staying somewhere flat for the summer. And we'll see what happens in the fall season. It could go up, could go down. Who knows, right? Nobody knows. Nobody has a crystal ball. We just see what is happening right now and what is likely to be. Alameda County, relatively flat. I mean, look at this. Very predictable. Anything that has sold in April, May, June is probably going to sell for the same amount. Very, very predictable for people to see. Very, very predictable. So for those that are searching there, you can see still a very high amount that is hitting the market a week, 573. Lots of opportunities for those. San Francisco. So San Francisco single family has finally declined. It's been red hot over the year and finally has declined. So you can see the question is for everybody, and we don't know the answer. Is this a summer slowdown? It definitely is a slowdown, relative speaking. But what does that mean? Does it pick things back up in the fall time? Is this a good opportunity to buy right now? I mean, you can't work both ways. I mean, I got to be upfront, right? You can't win both ways. What do you want me to say, right? You have one side of people that are like, all right, we got to get in because it's going to keep going up. And so, or they're like, oh, let's keep going up, so we're going to give up. You have that kind of mindset. And then now you see a decline in a price break. Now, what do people say? Oh, it's going to keep dropping. Like, it's kind of interesting if you think about and question yourself if you're one of those buyers. Like, are you thinking that way too? Which side are you on, right? Are you waiting for a decline because you're complaining things could keep rising? If it is, now is the time to buy. I mean, it's very clear. If you were a negative naysayer, right, you keep thinking it keep dropping, then you might as well wait, right? I have no pressure or time on this. It's really up to you. So keep that in mind, right? This is, as you can see, prices have clearly dropped. So that notion of continued increase, you can can that myth altogether. That myth is now gone, right? It has already decreased. Now, there's two ways to look at it, as I mentioned. This could be a break. So this could be the opportunity where you can get in now. The appraisal values should be really roughly as to what it was sold for recently. So there's not much of an appraisal risk as there was previous months. But it's your choice. It's your bet to make, right? Does it stay flat like this? I personally think it would, because I see all the activities is still happening of my listings. And for when I'm looking for my buyers, which I'm looking for over 30 buyers as we speak. So I see this all the time, but it's your choice to make. I just reveal the data so you can understand this yourself. And last but not least, let's just take a look at Contra Costa County. This has a much bigger decline, right? So I think it's important to get a sense of maybe which area that you're looking at, and then have a deep dive comparables and analysis for that individual property, because it's going to vary. I think the places further out in Contra Costa County will be more negatively impacted versus the places that are closer to like Alameda County. And so something to be mindful of as to where you look to, as that certainly matters as people have clearly returned back to the office. Well, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode. If you or anyone you know has any questions about the Bay Area real estate market or wants a realtor like myself to be able to help, I would love to engage. My contact details are below, or send me a DM if you're watching this on social media. Looking forward to help you. Enjoy the weekend and stay cool. Bye now.